The team is determined to locate as many clues as possible to piece together the island's past and discover the legendary riches, since they determine gold in the island's water. The Lagina brothers and their group are investigating and collecting records that indicate gold within the timber. The group is still excited about their recent discovery, and they are more positive than ever that they could solve the 228E vintage treasure mystery. An ancient handcrafted ladder leading to a dark underwater tunnel is one of several signs of human interference they discover as they explore the island's aquatic and subsurface areas. According to the legend of Oak Island, one more person will need to die to break the curse that hides the treasure. Even though the island has a scary tale connected to it, it hasn't stopped the Lagina brothers and their team. The episode begins with Paul announcing that this was going to be an interesting area to dig. Zooming in on their camp on the island, the group is seen marking a spot on the ground they think might be ideal for drilling. Marty asks if they are ready to bring in the rig, and after an affirmative response, they disperse to better positions around the area as another exciting week begins. Marty Lagina explains that Dr. Spooner and Dr. Michael believe they have isolated an area of interest based on the water sample testing results. Marty gestures grandly around him and says that they are standing in that location. As he finishes explaining, the audience is given a flashback to the team sitting in a room together, talking about this very development. A man with light hair and glasses is talking excitedly about finding something cool after conducting water tests and boreholes throughout the cache pit area, which suggested the treasure could be located within a 70 by 25 foot area just west of the garden shaft. The team has decided to call this the blob. Another expert appears in this flashback, announcing that a number of objects being buried, containing metals, are clustered in a very small area. Geoscientist Dr. Spooner is revealed as the light-haired, emotional man in glasses, and the second expert is Dr. Fred Michael, a hydrogeologist. They carried out new tests that have significantly narrowed the search area for the Curse Island crew to a region of only 20 by 20 feet and between 80 and 120 feet deep, which Dr. Spooner has dubbed the Blob 2.0, or the Baby Blob, as the others on the team call it. In the present, everyone has a copy of the plan in their hands, talking about the curious area they've landed on to investigate and rediscover what makes the place they are standing in so exciting. They speculate that they might potentially have a tunnel sitting at 95 feet that leads into this potential treasure site, which could be an unfortunate or revealing turn of events. The end result is that everything is leading to this area, where they have marked a big orange X. They realize that the X marks the spot as their best chance to cover all their bases at once. Marty's only comment about that is to bring in the rig already. The team gets ready to drill borehole DN1 Feeve within the Baby Blob, a borehole they hope will not be reliant upon freshwater alone. From a valuable standpoint, they've only encountered valuables below a depth of 80 feet but may also be on track to intercept a tunnel believed to run directly beneath the garden shaft, where water testing has detected trace evidence of gold. There's excitement in the air as they're finally getting to the best part of all their hard work. They've conducted an extensive water sampling program over months and are now on the verge of possibly uncovering the hidden treasure that has been whispered about for centuries. Marty's hope is that they discover something there, even if it's not the treasure that would stop their season-long hunt. Charles Barkhouse, the Oak Island historian, is in charge of the operation as Marty excuses himself from overseeing it. The narrator lets the audience know that as the drilling operation in borehole DN15 gets underway, Marty returns, but this time in the company of Oak Island Operations Manager Scott Barlow and Roger Foran from Dumas Contracting Limited. Scott Barlow may add that as they prepare to personally investigate the garden shaft, the reconstruction of the garden shaft is well beyond the halfway point, and their intention is to build the halfway point at 80 feet deep. Roger estimates that they'll be around 60 feet underground as they conduct their inspections. Over the past several weeks, the team from Dumas Contracting Limited has been excavating tons of muck and water out of the dilapidated shaft and installing watertight timber stages, each 8 feet, that they call units as they build their way down the shaft. They have started drilling at specific angles to look for evidence of potential offset man-made chambers and items. Marty counts himself and Scott lucky to move down into the garden shaft because they've found an old ladder down there that he considers a part of the island's mystical history. Inside the shaft, Marty is surprised by the old ladder, plain evidence that he's standing where adventurers and treasure hunters did before him. Scott asks if he can see where the ladder was whittled by hand, as they clearly didn't have a timber lathe all those years ago. The ladder itself is treated as a treasure in itself. Actually, very few, if any, people are whittling their own timber ladders at this point in time. They discuss wanting to meet the person who made the ladder and their thoughts on their operation, since the garden shaft may have been built more than half a century before the discovery of the original money pit. They wonder if this homemade ladder could have been left behind by someone who deposited a large cache of gold. If that's the case, it would explain the high readings of precious metals coming from this location. This theory holds a lot of weight if one takes the time to consider how long it could have taken a craftsman to handmake a ladder of such high quality, only to leave it behind in the underground shaft. In another flashback, that takes place 12 weeks earlier, the team is seen drilling a borehole located just 18 feet southwest of the garden shaft. At one point, Matt and Yoda appear in the shaft, and the team then finds a large void that they believe may be a sign of an offset chamber. In the present day, Scott Barlow has observed a hunch at the same approximate depth inside the garden shaft, and the thinking is that it could be related to the void the team found weeks earlier. This raises everyone's excitement as they wonder what they will find with their probe drilling in that area. The potential to look outside the shaft is thrilling, as they may be able to see if their theories of another chamber, tunnel, or shaft next to the garden shaft can be proven true. Back at the money pit location, historian Charles Barkhouse and geologist Terry Mathers are hard at work. They have been closely monitoring the drilling of boreholes DN115 and DN55, now that the drilling has reached the possible treasure area, which lies between 80 and 120 feet deep below the Earth's surface. Andy, a geoscientist, walks over to the tent that Charles and Terry are setting up to check on them and see how their work is going. Terry lets him know that they're down DN115 and have reached 78 to 88 feet, getting closer to their goal. As he says this, a loud grinding sound is heard coming from the drilling crew, and everyone looks up as the screeching noise gets louder. The drill operator says that they need to pull up the drill because they've broken through something. They decide to take a look at the pipe to figure out what happened. As the drill operator reads a measuring tape, he says they've opened 1.5 feet. Terry looks on from the tent, jaw-dropped, concerned that something has gone terribly wrong for the crew. The drill operator makes his way to Terry and tells him that they've broken through something at 90 feet underground. Terry rephrases what he said, and now the situation can be understood because the drill operator has opened a space 90 feet beneath grade, meaning there's a void down there. The three men in the tent let the operator know that they'll talk over this development and let him know what to do once they reach a consensus. But for now, they need to pause the drilling. The master mechanic blows off a bunch of steam and tells the driller. Charles takes out his cell phone to contact the Lagina brothers, Rick and Marty. Rick is shown in a confessional, saying that whenever he gets a call from the money pit drill operation, it's an exciting moment for him because the DN115 is in the treasure area. They understand the significance of the region, which cannot be overstated. They have invested a fortune in time and money to narrow down the location with the highest gold values, the creation of trapped air, and the voids in the area. Rick drives down to the location right away and is in a great mood. The whole crew begins to gather near the borehole to hear the new development. Mike, the operator of the drill, tells them that at around 90 feet, he could feel the rods break through something, and it opened about 1.5 feet past his rods. He speculates that something he cut through Terry's spectra skeleton fell into this void. This is an extremely exciting and nerve-wracking development. Could he have hit buried treasure that has now dropped into a void? Terry takes out a map of the area and determines that the DN15 borehole clearly aligns with DN12.5 and DN13, which are all along an east-west alignment at around 94 feet beneath grade. He says that Mike hitting it under 90 feet indicates they're on top of the tunnel. The team has recently encountered a suspected tunnel at the same depth, and two other nearby boreholes all line up with the garden shaft. Should they be right, they have intercepted another section of the structure. If this is related to the massive amount of gold that was detected inside the baby blob, Marty says that they need to confirm whether it's a tunnel or not, and the only way to do that is to pull the core. Marty commands Mike to get them some core and find their treasure. The drill operators, Mike and Colton, march back to fulfill his demands. Rick is left pondering how, whenever they come across a void, his first thought is that it could lead them somewhere. At this point, this is the kind of thinking that has led the team to find clue after scattered clue as they attempt to pinpoint the location of the fabled treasure. Mike lowers the drill into the borehole as Rick reflects on his deep desire to find answers and that treasure, which has become his obsession. Rick watches as Colton fills a core sample, which Terry and Charles will then slice and analyze for clues.